Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast. I'm your host, spnanon. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting some kind of big bombastic introduction for episode 100?
I mean, I was.
I've taken a look at the episode list, and I regret to inform you that if you count all the non-standard numbered episodes, this is actually episode 117 of the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast. Yes, if you count up all the live casts that we've done and all the 0.5s and the 0.5s and all like the weird shit that Joe was doing at the start of in the early days with like the April Fool's cast with Yuri Space Pirate that I wasn't a part of. It actually comes out to 17 bonus episodes. So this is in fact the 100th numbered episode, but it's the 117th actual released episode in its own chunk. So, and you know what? Maya Gisborne from Van Dread was the 100th character released to SPNatI on the main roster. And Jura Basil Eldon of Van Dread was the 117th character. So you know what? It's all connected. They truly are the heroes, the main protagonists of SPNatI, as am I, the host, spnanon. And I'm here with my co-host, Nord. Thanks for coming on as always. And nmasp, returning host and returning guest for this grand episode 100. Nord, say hi, and then nmasp as well.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast that simply everyone is listening to. Yes. My name is Nord, and my goal is to make 117 characters. And so far, I'm making good on that promise.
How many are you up to, actually?
I think I've surpassed you.
I think
we're going to talk about another one.
Yeah, I think I got like 12 or 13, something like that. It's hard to keep track. I'm just Nick Cannoning it up in here.
Well, the thing is, I've also contributed models and posing to characters I haven't written.
Oh yeah, I'm blown the fuck out then.
Real quick, I want to mention, once again for the last time perhaps, the 2024 annual Strip Poker Night of the Inventory character feedback poll, listing out all the roster, everyone on main, everyone on testing, everyone online, and you can leave a detailed criticism and feedback for everyone you care about. That means Maya and Jura specifically. You should say nice things about them and their butts. I would appreciate that very much. Link should be in the description, although it may be over with by the time this comes out. We'll see. So please fill it out in these waning months. We'd like to get a bit more more responses on that. So let's move on to the three characters we have to talk about today. Three kind of testing roster characters. Two definitely testing roster, so they're brand new to the game, and one who was briefly on testing, but I think she quick passed back to main because it was a model update, and it's quite the selection. Not quite as much star power as the last three, and their titties aren't quite as big, but they're still a bunch of crowd pleasers for various reasons. And notably, as you may have come to expect, Nord and nmasp together have had their greasy little fingers in all three of these in some capacity.
Nord, when are you and I going to do a character together?
Oh, that's the ultimate crossover.
We can get it done in like 3 hours. I bet.
Let's start with the most obscure of the three. I had definitely not heard of this character beforehand, but once you take a good look at her, you'll never forget. You will never forget those massive memories. Have you ever seen massive, globular, overwhelming, nmasp fearing, all-encompassing, all-suffocating, massive, milky witch titties? Vanessa from Luminous Arc is the character we'll be talking about today. Which I really can't... I must admit, I don't know anything about Luminous Arc. I don't know what system it's for. I don't know what genre it is.
This is all you need to know. She got tiggle bitties.
I'm going to assume that it's on the level of representation where I'm going to look up a GIF of her and tenor, and nothing's going to come up. We'll see. But yeah, that's her whole thing. She's like the witch of immolation is her big deal, and she's fiery. She's passionate. She likes fiery passion in other people. She's here to play. She's a bit of a bitch, apparently. but she's not like an outright villain. She's not like a human necessarily. She's apparently like a witch that was like created, and she's supposed to fight God as you do in JRPGs.
Yeah, I know a bit about this. Someone
Yeah,
has.
I'll let you
told her
explain it in a second, Nord. But yeah, you did the art. You were the one who blessed Laura with these massive star birthmarked witch titties, and this is a similar collaboration with Salt Mine as you did before with Aqua Grunt, where she's sort of the Dami type. She's aggressive. She's assertive as he likes. He likes being the sub for these girls, and you did the art for him. So Vanessa and Aqua Grunt are kind of kindred spirits in that way, but they have much different bust sizes. And I'd better let you get into it and who she is and what Luminous Arc is all about, because I'm just going to keep mentioning her fat fucking titties.
So Luminous Arc is a like isometric tactical game for the DS, as you can see by the like split screen here vertically. She is a villain for the first portion of the game. From what I gather, it's a situation where she's a like recurring boss encounter, but then later in the game she joins your party. Like,
Oh my God.
That GIF is from Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V.
Oh, my prediction was correct.
Yeah. She had some official art. She appeared. I don't know the name of it, but I was able to find a 3D model of her that was from like a crossover game by the same developers, where like it had her in it. In that one, all I could think was they nerfed her hair because her hair is massive, and in the it was like a Wii game that clearly couldn't support ankle length ponytail. When we were first making her, we did debate if she would have her scythe or not, and the gauntlet to go with it, but we decided no, it's not worth it. So yeah, that's just her, the general background of her. She is a witch. And in her source material, that means that's different from like being human. She was created to fight gods, and she's attracted to power and respects anyone that has power or is connected to dragons. And as it just so happens, I have a Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist on testing who is heavily associated with a dragon. So that was fun banter to write. But before we get fully into that, I'll let nmasp say his thoughts.
And you're telling me he ended up in a dual forfeit with Nadeshiko?
Yes.
He could have just used these titties as a pillow.
I actually really like. I really like Vanessa. You know, her personality is really interesting and forward. I think this is an area where like Salt Mine actually really excels in writing. Model's obviously beautiful, just ginormous boobies, which I normally am afraid of, but these are particularly alluring, which I'm like, wow, this is weird. I've never done this before. I think like, yeah, honestly, nothing really critical so far. I think the one thing is just I just need to see more targeted lines with her. It's hard to figure out like, you know, like, okay, she's attracted to power. I actually have Juno target this in some unreleased lines about that. But I think like in general, she's very seductive the whole game. And I think like it's sometimes okay just to keep a character pretty simple in that vein. And I think she does that well. I would maybe like to see some more aggressive, dirty talk. But that's just me, because like I think like the one thing that I don't particularly enjoy about Vanessa is just like her forfeit dialogue is like pretty neutral, and I think like there's room to like up level the horny there and be more explicit, but maybe that's just out of character. That's really it. She's good. I like her.
Nord, have you played Luminous Arc? What is your connection with this character?
My connection with this character is that Saltmine told me all about her, and I made her using every scrap of official art and fan art I could find.
So there's not a lot out there.
I haven't played it personally, no. But there's a little bit of fan art. She doesn't have that much. It is a relatively, like for its time, it's a relatively obscure game, but it had multiple sequels. Most recent one was apparently Luminous Arc Infinity in 2015. Interesting.
Oh, so like a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Do you want to
9
tell him?
years ago.
Do you want to tell him? Like,
She has the Joestar birthmark. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's never specified if that's a tattoo or a birthmark, but it's a very eye-catching feature.
Oh yes, definitely. It's her most eye-catching feature.
In terms of dialogue, I was already talking with Saltmine while I was doing my test game with her today. He already knows that she requires more filters and banter. He's been working really hard on banter. He's got a lot going with Darkness in particular, he keeps mentioning.
as an aside, I love Darkness. She adds a lot to the game, and she's really fucking funny.
Yeah. The only other critique of Vanessa I really have is that she needs lines specific to pieces of clothing, especially like shoes, glasses, gloves, because she does the thing where she calls accessories trinkets, which isn't too bad when it's
the feedback. Someone's gonna get real mad in feedback reports over that.
It's one of those things where, like, it's fine if it is a miscellaneous random item that, you know, someone has from their source series, but when it's a pair of shoes, you wouldn't really call that a trinket. Yeah, that's about all I have to say.
Let me start with the art here. There is a lot to say, and you did a very good job overall, especially for not being all that familiar with the character. Disgustingly, distractingly big titties. These should be studied. I wrote, I mean, sometimes you might say that that butt won't quit. Well, these tits won't quit. They won't get out of my face. And you, this is almost like a showcase of what you're always telling the viewers to do, right? Make custom boobs that actually get manipulated, right? They change angle, and there is a lot of mass to move around here, and you did a very nice job. You know, clothed and unclothed. She's always like pushing them around, and you see them oriented in different ways, and that's very impressive. Her hands were slightly bigger than normal. There's some nice custom work with some custom drawn hands as well, and with the different leg positionings on her chair when she sits in a chair for the forfeit. That's also like it added nice variety, so I appreciated that. As for criticisms, I noticed right off the bat with the source material here, I was like, wait, is her hair a different color? But no, it's actually her hat, her big witch hat needs to cast a shadow on her head. It's not doing that at the moment. And her massive ponytail, which I thought was like part of her robe at first. I guess it's not really a ponytail. It's more like a witch's broom or something, but that could move around more than it does. It does occasionally flip around, but there were a lot of times where it felt very stiff. And there's basically just these two versions of it just mirrored across from each other. So if you have time, you could have it deform and bounce and move around a little bit more. I know you were focused on her titties, but you got to eventually work on her hair as well. It's also quite striking. I wasn't exactly sure what her like physical age was supposed to be, just based on the dialogue alone. And in the source material, I really can't tell either. I mean, she doesn't look super young, but she doesn't look like old either. There's nothing like especially going there. Like, yeah, her boobs are kind of saggy, but they're also.
I mean, it's an anime character. Like, it could be anywhere between 15 and like 30, right?
Right. I mean, she also doesn't have like the tightest waist or anything, and she's got it like it almost feels like a bit of paunch, right? And with the saggy boobs, it's like. I wasn't sure. I mean, I kind of estimated like maybe like a. She kind of gives the vibes of like a 40-year-old hooker or something, especially with the dialogue, but the very forward dialogue. But like she's a very hot 40-year-old hooker. Like she's looking pretty good for her age. So I don't know what the deal is there. I don't know how dommy, how like milfy she's supposed to be necessarily. The titties can kind of obstruct that. Let's see. On the writing side, a lot of little nitpicks. Saltmine's had a lot of practice at this point. He took a long time to like get this character the way he wanted her to be. I think it shows. And I didn't really see any typos or mistakes. And overall, he got across like the dommy, really passionate, encouraging energy that she had. So it's just like nitpicks that I have. I think she could introduce herself on the first hand. I think she could explain herself and who she is a little bit better and not always be about like the game and, strip more for me. What more can you do for me? She's always at kind of like an 8 to a 10 in terms of intensity. I know she's literally the fire witch, the witch of immolation, but she could have some milder lines in there where she's maybe just kind of fuming to herself. The game's not going faster or something to that effect. But the way she's very encouraging to others is good. It prevents her from being too obnoxious or feeling repetitive, where it's like always all about her, or always demanding things of other people. You want her to be encouraging, like, yeah, rock it, girl. Make it sexy, not just for her, but like for everybody. And that was nice. You need a character like that to kind of keep the game friendly and encouraging. She's not threatening to like set everyone on fire, which is what I was kind of worried about. But no, she's not interested in doing that, I guess. Something I've encouraged more, especially for characters whose art is kind of next level, is if you can communicate something visually, you're going to want to do that. And again, I'm not sure how married to this character you really want to be, Nord, but if there's some way for her to visually communicate a couple of the things about herself that she talks about, like using a little bit more of her magic. There is some of it in there with teleporting and fire, but maybe some of the other things she's capable of. She doesn't bring out that giant fuck off scythe at any point. She talks about the other witches, but I don't know what they look like. I'm going to assume they wear different colors. I don't know if they all have the same massive titties or if that's just a her thing. It'd be nice. I don't know if she could have like the anime like flashback images like Yuno does of the other witches at any point. I'm sure that'd be a lot of work.
Am I really gonna have to like do this model just so that you can see it semi-transparently as she thinks about who is this? One of the Iris. What is she? The Steel Witch.
My point is a little bit more about like how she's different from the others, because I didn't really learn that. That's my point.
I think that's
more of a writing thing.
I think that's good. Also, I think the funny thing is like if you did, ghost images of these other witches, and then you have someone else makes one of those witches, I think that leads to some very funny situational comedy.
Anyway, do either of you have any final comments about Vanessa and her massive titties?
She's good. Keep going.
I definitely am open to doing any sort of new poses that Saltmine needs. He's very upfront about when a pose works or doesn't work. But he also took my suggestions for the different teasing poses, which vary stage to stage in particular. She was a lot of fun to make the art for. In some areas it was a challenge, but I always like to take on a new challenge when I'm doing a new character's art in particular. She currently has 2 poses of her showing off fire, and it's just her casually either casually holding a flame or holding 2 flames when she gets angry, but that rarely comes up at the moment.
She never got angry at me.
Yeah. And then the teleporting to grab a chair was, I think it was almost a last minute decision, but it was based on Saltmine pointing out that she teleports in and out when she starts or finishes a battle.
Well, Nord, you've always insisted that you are a boob man, and you know what? I believe you. You did good. I could learn a lot. This should be studied, and I will study it. As for my final comments on Vanessa and her giant titties, Nord or Solitaire, please edit in this short clip.
Yamero Takashi.
Okay, so moving on. I'm afraid that the cup size is only going to diminish more and more as this podcast progresses. Next up, we have as we've said, the masquerade characters have been sort of drip feeding in over time, and there's a bit of controversy because this is nmasp's character or masquerade character, and he was kind of two-timing her with his own personal project.
Was waiting on the art to get done.
Depending on the lighting, she might think that's okay. This is a collaborative effort between 2 rookies and nmasp and a longtime stand-up guy, Omboro. We've had we've had quite the relationship over the years with Fire Emblem characters. That's who this is. Not only a Fire Emblem character, but yet another Fire Emblem Three Houses character, Constance von Nouvelle of the Ashen Wolves house, of the last of the von Nouvelle household, and she has a personality disorder, which should really tell you why nmasp went for her.
It's finally an nmasp Fire Emblem character. They got me, guys.
They
Took a great deal of years, but here it is, a character from Fire Emblem written by me.
I will say, if they're going to keep making Fire Emblem characters, they certainly know how to keep things interesting, because she indeed has a very strange gimmick going on where, I guess inspired by Hot Spring Woman or what, like if you, depending on the background, she will literally change her entire personality. So it's a bit confusing because there's light and dark mode, and in sunlight, she's very dour and depressed. But in dark environments, anywhere indoors, she becomes the Ohoho Ojo-sama, laughing maniacally, insisting that she's better than everybody else. So, nmasp, how did this happen? Who is this cutie? And in what environment would you personally enjoy her the most?
Long story short, during the Masquerade Shuffle, it was kind of difficult to sort all the teams just so. So I was like, I saw Onboro, and I'm like, all right, Onboro's a cool guy. I'll go work with him. Let's see what we can do. And I thought it'd be funny to do a Fire Emblem character because I've never done one before. So, and he was gung-ho about it, using a model from Blue Jay originally. So anyway, Constance is really funny. Her personality changes depending on the lighting she's in. I think writing like an Ohoho Ojo-sama character was something I haven't done before, so that was also really exciting. And so the way this kind of shook out is, obviously when we were getting started, we talked to the various team members and kind of agreed to do this. What ultimately ended up happening is, we wrote the dialogue for her dark mode first over the course of, a period of time. And then we very quickly were able to convert that over to light mode dialogue by just changing the case and the tag or the marker, then just adjusting it from there. So it's really easy to give her kind of like two novel sets of experiences based on which mode she's in. I do think I'd like to add some more dialogue around like, hey, if you don't like this mode, change the background, which is kind of like a cool tutorial character effect. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of Constance. She's a lot of fun to write. She's super weird, and I enjoy that type of character. And once Juno's kind of more stable, I'm definitely going to, get around to finishing her up. But yeah, I know people were a little cross with her taking as long as she did, but I want everyone to keep in mind that when I started Juno, Constance was pretty much done, just waiting on some art. And then once that art came in, we got her, on test pretty quick. So she is here now.
What possessed you to go into the Masquerade and be like, okay, I know a lot of these projects crash and burn. Let's write a character who's two characters in one.
I mean, have you met me?
All right, Nord, what did you think of Constance?
Weird to be mad that you're, making a 2-in-1 character who is literally like one character. And oh no, how dare you be able to write, multiple characters at the same time.
We should probably establish, luckily, we didn't coordinate this or anything, but Nord played her in the dark environment, and I played her outdoors. So we got both experiences. Go ahead.
Well.
Every year until SPNatI's inevitable conclusion, we're going to get a new Three Houses character. Constance is definitely one of those ones where people have always been like, yeah, she would be great, but who would be crazy enough to actually write, both personalities? So props to you for doing it and not chickening out and having her carry a parasol or something.
I mean, to be fair, that's on Boro kind of being him. I was like, hey, maybe we can just do a parasol and we'll add in the light mode lines later. And he's like, no, you fucking won't. And I'm like, all right. So it took a little longer, but I think, if nothing else, I like to do attention to detail stuff, but I'm also kind of let's say, efficient with how I spend my time on this kind of content. So I really appreciate other people being like, no, nmasp, stop being a bitch, do it.
I did play the DLC that introduces her, so I do have her voice in my head, and I think you have got her haughtiness and her dour side across pretty well. It's actually one of those things that is translated in a gameplay sense of like her stats change based on the map you're deploying her to. As a character, you're like doing a great job getting across the like. Okay, so I played her in dark mode, which means it's her happy-go-lucky personality, very confident and such, and so she very much got across that side of her where she's, you know, really eager to rebuild her house's name after it was disgraced, and in doing so was like very sure of herself, very like haughty noble. The art here is done really well by Onboro. He was solo artist, wasn't he?
I think we had one person helping with posing, but I couldn't tell you. I just don't touch art, with maybe the obvious exception of Juno.
Mm-hmm. She has a good variety of, a good standard variety of poses. None of them are too extreme, so they didn't feel out of place repeating. I think I played her light mode when she first hit testing, because I just still had like the lake background on. I don't remember enough about it to go super in depth. I just know that like the contrast is definitely there, and you've done it well.
Well, thank you.
The only critique for you specifically, writing wise, is that characters can fail the filtered line test of talking about their opponent's, lower hair whenever that's revealed. Constance is the first character I've seen where she fails her own test of when she reveals it.
How so?
Okay, so she had a very
yeah, she's very
no, but like she has a very spicy, couple of lines when she's in her upper personality and is like taking off her thong. But then instead of continuing that line of thought, she talks about how how peculiar her own lower haircut is.
That's fair. I think like I didn't write those in sequence, so I maybe just forgot. So that's fine. We can fix that. I appreciate that.
I dare not read these lines out loud, but I'll pass them to you to see what I mean.
No, I can understand. Like, I will fix that. That's my bad. Whoops.
That's really the only issue that stood out, is that it gave me whiplash for that.
Just all intended. See who's paying attention. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So my review of her dark mode, which is again her upbeat personality, is you've done it really well. Of her light mode, downer personality.
Talk to me about light mode, spnanon.
I am just so glad that we have a Fire Emblem character to talk about in episode 100.
It wouldn't be a episode without one, would it?
How perfect that she has the perfect personality disorder to pair with nmasp. Famous, he's had as long of a career as Fire Emblem has had in this game. And in his earlier escapades have earned him the nickname Dr. nmasp and Mr. Krang. A very strange case indeed. But as far as Constance goes, I think I would probably enjoy both of her personalities. But yeah, I did play the light mode, the dour, depressed version of her, where she's just like, "Oh, I'm so ugly with and poor and disgraced in my house, and
I'm so wretched.
If only someone could love me and my massive hips, rivaling even Vanessa's massive titties." But yeah, she's I described her as she's shy in light, and yeah, she does have lines like that. But I think you did a good job of like walking the tightrope where she's not a total bummer. you can kind of like, she kind of crosses the line sometimes where it's just like funny how self-deprecating she becomes.
That's kind of the goal. I think it should be more funny than it isn't, but we do what we can.
And she did still like legit get into it even in that state by the end. She had like a sort of cute embarrassed openness, I put in quotes. I wasn't exactly sure how that would pan out or how much of that was genuine or just her trying to like kind of like, unless, like maybe you are really into me or something, an excuse to get flirty and make the whole strip sequence sexy. But it was good regardless. Nice underwear. Her art was a little uneven. I liked the dialogue overall, but the art was like, I mean, she has default boobs. That was a little disappointing, especially because especially like the nipples. I know like Hex talked about that as well, but there's not a whole lot to look at with them. She covered herself a lot. She probably doesn't do that in the dark mode, but I got a lot of self-covering, which I guess is fair to expect. But like the pubic hair you talked about, it was like very well detailed and interesting. It has like a very strange pattern to it.
Onboro really came through on that one because I'm like, nah, dude, we gotta commit to it.
Her hips are very sexy. She does a very interesting. She bends over clothed, which is pretty unusual, to take off her skirt, and you can see like the clothed like boobs hanging. Usually people say that for the naked stage, so that was kind of interesting, and it was done well. Good underwear. People have already talked about this. She needs much bigger drills. The hair drills. Those are more prominent in the source material, I can see. She was bone dry during the forfeit, and the forfeit posing especially, that was the big weakness. That actually legit just looks kind of bad. I'm not sure what's going on there. Again, it's another case, kind of like Heisenberg from previous couple episodes, where flying a bit too close to the sun, getting a little too cute with the advanced leg poses. It can kind of create problems that other like previous characters, older characters didn't have. Her like thighs are too close together, and there's like no room for her crotch. It's like it's like a vanishing point. Like there's some body there that's being absorbed because her thighs are too close together. And a lot of poses like this, another one I posted, where she's reaching around her thigh and her calf, which I actually sat on the floor and tried to recreate myself, and it's very uncomfortable if you can even reach at all. So definitely change that. I don't know what you were going for, but those need to be behind her leg. I don't know if Onboro was rushed to some capacity in making this art, but that the forfeit posing especially is just straight up bad. I hate to admit, or I hate to tell you, but yeah, that needs a lot of work. I don't know if you were trying to make the knees higher or lower or what was going on there, but that was a little depressing or a little disappointing to get into when I enjoyed the character so much up to that point with the very fun dialogue and an interesting angle she was going with.
I think the good news is I think Onboro can definitely come through and shine on this, and in the event that he's busy, which I know he has a lot going on these days, I am getting good posing practice with Juno. Maybe we'll see what we can do. But rest assured, everyone, she is going to hit main at some point. TM.
As a Fire Emblem character deserves. And I know I always bitch about them, but it's really just a joke at this point. I mean, I haven't played Three Houses, but damn, all these characters are pretty good. I can see why it's so beloved and why it immediately took off in the world of SPNatI. And the outside world, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of hits here. So yeah, I'm props to you for writing two characters at once, or some might say three characters at once. And
one for each house, really.
She's not even in a main house. But yeah.
True.
Oh yeah, we finally have a character from each house except Blue Lions.
Oh my god, did the DLC house get in first?
The DLC house got in before Blue Lions.
Stellar.
That's also a very trademark SPNatI moment.
We even got Shamir, currently incomplete, but she was in the game for a while, from the church itself. So we have 4 out of the 5 major groups represented now.
Yeah. No matter what lighting conditions you put her in, Constance seems to be a lot of fun. And even if she was kind of your side hoe in this moment, I really like how she's come out, except for the forfeit posing. I don't know what happened there, but the rest is quite good. Cut out the part about the anal hair. That was weird. That didn't really. No one really knew what was going on there. Just leave this in so people get confused. Anything else you'd like to say about her?
No, it was a pleasure working with Unboro. I think the rest of my team definitely contributed, and I'm hopeful we'll get some more help from them with these final mile work.
I do at some point want to get banter with you because I know that like because she has two personalities, you want to do like structured banter with her rather than pigeon back and forth. So I'd be happy to like work out at least a couple of targets for both Leonie and Petra to just get that going, because I do see that like Petra in particular gets paired with her a fair amount.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
She apparently like has actual supports with Petra.
Does she really?
She does in 3 hopes. So like sort of alternative timeline level of canon. But yeah, that means there'll be something we can at least use as a starting point. Hell yeah.
Sounds good.
So yeah, just like Luminous Arc, Three Houses is a game that came out only a few years ago. So let's end things off by talking about a character who came out in SPNatI only just a few years ago, as well as her source material game, Persona 5. It's only been a few years, but she has returned as or been totally revamped. She's been on main this whole time, but kind of abandoned a character that nmasp once wrote. I don't think he did the art. Yeah, he was involved from the start, and now not only has she been revamped, but she does have a new writer as well. So If I May is doing the writing now. He's kind of adopted all the Persona 5 characters, sort of, under his wing. And Locket, creator of Nagatoro and Nonon, has come out of nowhere with a new and improved model for Futaba Sakura from Persona 5. Yet another star of Rule 34. I know she's pretty popular. I mean, all the characters are really. But she's the hacker, geek, gamer girl. I guess people go for that because they think they might actually have a chance with her. She's just as sedentary as they are. She is a lot cuter, though. And she's been made a lot cuter over the course of recent events. I think I have a couple old poses. Yeah. She was looking a lot more frumpy back in 2017, but we all thought it was okay. It was a different time. But now she's I think a little taller, actually. She's a little skinnier and leggier. And I think there's been some effort to kind of age her up, but maybe you other two can kind of expand on that. So nmasp, have you tried out? I mean, your daughter's been married off to new ownership, to
That's
new
a
husbands,
weird way to phrase it. Please don't. No, I think I think like her dialogue has gotten a little bit added from If I May, but the core dialogue's still pretty much the same to my knowledge, which was really fun. But yeah, the new model is just phenomenal. Locket really excels at these types of characters, and I'm really touched. Like, I think the model upgrade's really great. I look forward to seeing her improve further. And yeah, no, just well done. I think the thing with me in some ways is like, I'm always really happy when someone picks up the work that I've already put into SPNatI, takes it and improves it, because I'm not a perfect writer, and especially not artists. So, or not artists. So, if someone's like, I don't know, wanting to work on Say, for instance, Mike or Akko, like, please go ahead and take them. Like, it's there for you guys to improve, which is really cute.
I mean, in the live cast, this even came up. People ask, why not just make like quick art updates for all these old characters? Even if you don't want to keep writing them forever. And I 100% supported that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anyone wants to do the art updates, by all means, go for it.
Any other thoughts of it? Did you give her a try?
Yeah, I did. I think it's like a weirdly nostalgic thing, because a lot of the lines are things I wrote, and it's been so long that I don't remember writing them, which is a weird thing. So yeah, I really like it. I think with the new art, she just shines so much brighter. I would move her belly button down a little bit. It's a little high.
Is it even custom? I don't know. It may just be the Kisuke style. I don't think it's that bad.
I can't tell. I don't know if it's custom or not.
What are your other thoughts on her, Nord?
No, it is definitely custom. It's higher than it was in the original model. It is funny to say, like, oh, just do quick and easy art updates. They're not quick nor easy a lot of the time. Lockett's done a fantastic job here updating her. He's revamped some of her posing as well. Like, generally speaking, it is the same Futaba that was already in the game. She just looks a lot more modern. No big...
And it's so good.
Yeah. No big dialogue changes yet, but If I May has specifically like reached out to me and I think some other people to get new banter going.
I'm gonna target her with Juno. Easy UFO stuff.
Hell yeah. I'll be really excited to see those dialogue updates, but this is mostly a model update. It was a quick pass one. Quick pass is a system where, like, if it's the current owner of the character, or like, technically, like, If I May is not the original owner of Futaba, obviously, but like, he is currently the one in charge of her. He has been for, I think, over a year now, and just it's taken a while to get an art update that he wanted in, and so we essentially just went with Quick Pass, and with Quick Pass, we get everyone who's made characters to just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the art update, and if it has enough votes after 24 hours in the positive, we just keep it in the game as is. It skips having to go back to testing with the character. And so, like, pretty unanimously, like, everyone agreed this was a well-deserved change. It doesn't massively, like, change her out. Like, the rules of it are a bit vague, but it's like, don't change the outline, don't change the major interactions or the forfeit sequence or anything. In Futaba's case, it's literally just everything looks better now, but it's still the character that was already there. There was one pose I was going to draw particular attention to, but I can't find the name of it now. Oh, I think it was Excited, that's it. I love the pushing glasses up trope. Lockett in general is a great... Lockett in general has been a great artist, and he's definitely found his niche with Gremlin Girls.
I've got a Lockett thing at the end for like our closing remarks, but we'll get there for in a second.
This pose is the kind of thing where, she really shines, or this model update really shines in terms of like going the extra mile with individual poses, and
agreed,
and changing like basic attributes of the character to really sell something visually. You know, like this eyeglasses trope, for instance. Overall, she's super cute. She's extra expressive compared to before. I did notice some, parallels and connective tissue between the three characters we've talked about today. As mentioned before, the titties keep getting smaller as we get to the closing remarks here.
We're running out of titium.
I know it's a limited resource. Vanessa hogged it all.
Precious titium.
Another thing, all three of them have a leaning over pose to remove something. Tifa does as well.
Oh yeah,
it's in vogue. It must be. It's something. It's sort of like a standard, like, hey, custom stripping pose that people do now. I guess there's a bit of a tried and true method for making it. I've never tried it, but all three of them do it. For stripping their bottoms or their stockings or something like that. So they all do it.
I did notice that. Forgot to write it down.
There's very little to criticize here. It's just an objective improvement overall. Even the writing was surprisingly, I thought it sounded like super aged, but it really didn't. Props to nmasp, I guess, but she pretty much held her own for the most part.
Yeah, I try my best.
Even 6-7 years later, she still sounded pretty good. I mean, she didn't really have that many targets, but that's just how it is on this bitch of an earth. She had like good updated filters even. I think she targeted like a tandem forfeit. I don't know when that happened, but good on If I May or whoever. She also teased that she was going to do some Godiva hair for a second with the long bangs covering her breasts, but she just moved them out of the way quickly. I thought it was surprising that there were no little bouncy animations when she was stripping. This is a Locket character, so I waited for a second. I expected them to pop up and down with her doing something, but it didn't happen. I guess he didn't feel like doing that. Understandable. But even though bending over poses have caught on, unfortunately, I must report that butt fangs is still not caught on in the mainstream. None of these girls have them, even though all of them should have them. I would come instantly. Okay, that's what would happen there. So keep that in mind for the future. Speaking of the future,
go ahead.
Okay, speaking of the future, I have to wonder, what's the deal with the epilogue going to be? Is the epilogue going to get updated? I know it's a bit rich of me to talk about that, but Futaba's was not quite as involved. I think she was mostly sitting in a chair.
Would be pretty cool if it was.
I think she was just sitting in a chair for most of her epilogue, so I don't think it'd be very hard to update. But maybe you want to do something more. I don't know. Those are my big thoughts on the matter. No, she's quite good overall, and again, just objective improvement all around. Just taking everything we've learned about Kisuke in the modern age and even smoothing out her waist, those trademark Locket curves. Nice
100%.
Little inflection point. So anything else you'd like to say, either of you, about Futaba?
I'm good. She's improved. Great job.
There was a bit of discussion of like if she feels like Futaba, which this is because like she hasn't had the dialogue changes yet that Ifame has planned. But it's probably just going to be more additive than changing what's already there.
Yeah.
The general conclusion I got is that like her being more confident than she was in the original game is a good thing because it shows that she's, gone through her character arc and is a bit older, which is what you do need for her. She's not fully like she's not.
Go ahead.
She's not like fully on overconfident mode, but she's definitely not as shy as you would as she would be like at the very start of her character arc in Persona 5. So I think like her current her SPNatI writing holds up pretty well, and it'll be good to see just more of that.
Yeah, I think for me it's like that was really interesting feedback to hear. I think like for some context, and again, this is like nmasp of several years ago at this point, but I think like the idea of like leaning into some of her anxiety and stress like detracts from the SPNatI experience. And so leaning in more into like the gremlin gamer kind of side of things and having her be in her own element, which is like, like I'm sorry if you're at home in front of your computer all the time, you're probably getting up to increasingly weirder stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's also like Futaba's really pretty. And, by the time she's an adult, she probably figures that out and is a little less self-conscious about it. So, I appreciate the feedback that she's not completely in character, but there's always ways to improve that. And I think for me, at least in terms of what I wrote for her, I think it's like pretty good for where we are. And if people want more of that like holistic character view, like by all means, it just wasn't kind of the design intention at the time. But, times change.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this power trio that we've talked about for this episode 100 of the Strip Poker Night at the Inventory podcast. Again, not quite as much star power as last time, but I think they've held their own. They've definitely in the titties department. One of the three kind of carrying their team, but it do be like that sometimes. So, what's next for you two? What's next for you, nmasp? What's going on with Locket and everything else?
Well, Locket did create some really good models and then kind of got a little burnt out. So if anyone else is interested in helping me do some posing, I've got about 700 lines written for a character following in Nord's great example of Zeke and Pandoria. Additionally, I do have... Did that send? I don't know if it sent. Wow, weird. I do have some other kind of other interesting things. Yeah, it's just not uploading. Very strange. But anyway,
Discord is lagging.
Yeah, I think so. All right, well, let me know if that loads in otherwise. But it's like also some interesting stuff with Juno coming down the pipe. and also with Ye and Leon with Just Kidding. But I think as far as things go, like my next kind of objectives are finish up what's on my plate as kind of as usual, and then we'll see where we go from there. I mean, I'm always down to do more interactions in writing. Please give me more feedback on Juno and Constance. I really do want to keep improving those things. And if anyone does want to adopt characters that I've written, like, please do. Like, take what you need, get rid of the things that don't work, and update them as you'd like. Great to be on the podcast. Good to be back, guys. Thank you so much. And don't be strangers.
Nord, are you going to be a stranger, or do you have something else to say?
I'm just keeping busy with a little bit of everything as usual. There's a couple of newcomers who are interested in reworking some characters or making a new character based on a model I posted. My next big thing is thinking already about like what am I going to make for Halloween, because I am promising to make another costume for a character who doesn't have a Halloween costume yet. That isn't one I've directly made, but we'll wait and see how that turns out. Like, I still enjoy creating models and stuff just for fun. Like, over this weekend I've started doing one of Rex from Xenoblade 2, or Xenoblade 2 and 3. So, if you're listening to this, and you're thinking about, oh, I wish I could make a Xenoblade character, hit me up. I will make a model for you.
Joe is rolling in his grave.
Joe knows that I'm doing this. I was actually inspired because he's still making, like, he's made models of Mithra and Pyra that are pretty good. And he made one of a different character, Morag. She's not in the game. She could be in the game.
Xenoblade 2, yet another game that came out just a few years ago. In fact, SPNatI and the SPNatI podcast itself came out just a few years ago, all the way back in 2018. Holy shit, we've been at this for 6 years, almost 7 years. And counting all the bonus stuff, that's like 20 episodes a year. Can you believe it?
I can.
Nord, can you believe it?
Can't believe it.
Well, my final thoughts on this this whole debacle are, I have said titties over the course of these past 2 episodes more than ever before, I think. Perhaps in all previous, 98 episodes or 115 episodes, depending on your count. So let me just finish off by saying, play with Maya and Jura. Check out the feedback poll if you haven't. Titties are great, but have you seen ass? I mean, I've been an ass man for just so long, and if I was ever going to be converted, now would be the time. So that's how you know that 100 episodes in, we're definitely moving into a new era. When I gave just an inch to the boob side of things. Maybe it's because they're so big that they finally look like a butt. But yeah, just one final thank you to everyone who's stuck with the game, or at least come on board at some point, sticking with us for so long, and especially any loyal viewers we may have. I know we've got at least like a fair amount. You know, there are some channels out there that can barely scrounge up double digits. So I appreciate everyone who tunes in, even if this is the only way they keep up with the game. You read that sometimes. You know, people retire from the active scene or from playing the game, but they still tune in to see what's going on in the game with the podcast. So we all really appreciate that, all the changes that we've gone through. I've been here for most of them, just kind of lingering and eventually taking over, but I really appreciate it, and all of us do. Thanks once again. Thanks for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more.